Hello YouTube! Now, I'm not going to say that what I'm going to give in this video are top tips because it will vary depending on your university and your course and what everything's like where you are and on who you are. But this is just my advice, which is pointless because I can never even follow my own advice, but my advice with regards to starting your new university degree. As it's now the summer holidays, you're probably all preparing and getting ready, as in those of you who are about to start your degree first year. So, I'm now going to go through every category I can imagine based on my first year to explain roughly how to solve various problems with your first year. So, now, living accommodation. Get a printer. I have seen other videos that have advised people not to get a printer because it uses up space and you never use it. That is complete word I'm not going to use because this is a family-friendly video. No, printers are essential. You will if you're doing a sciencey degree, like I'm doing a science degree, I'm doing geology. If you're doing something like that, or even other people doing art degrees, you will need a printer. I needed mine a lot, and it's a lot more cost effective than using the ones you have to pay for. Particularly, I find I use a Canon MP600, I think it is. Was it MP500? I don't know. Basically, I found with my Canon one, the ink seems to last for ages, and it has really rather good picture quality. So I'd advise getting a Canon printer. They're really good value for money as well. So yeah, get a printer. It is essential. Now, next thing. You're probably, I don't know who you are. If you're like me, I really didn't want loud flatmates. I requested a quiet flat, and yeah, they have a box on the sheet on the forms which allows you to apply for a quiet flat. They just don't bother. They will not bother to give you a quiet flat. Nobody else who I know who ticked the box actually got one. Some people were fortunate enough to have relatively quiet flats, but they didn't actually get a flat full of people who asked for quiet flats. Hence, one of my friends had a guy who played drums at 3 AM, which apparently irritated everyone on their block. I had some people who did like to party and to play loud music. And though I find that if you just ask them, if they're not arseholes, like mine weren't really arseholes, you weren't Arthur. Usually. Nah, I like you really, Arthur. Or do I? Anyway, yeah. If you just ask, if you've got a lot going on, they should be calm. But if not, just call campus security. Not that I ever called campus security, but quite a few other people have had to. Oh yeah, if you don't want to be woken up because you know your flatmates will come in at the end after a party and be loud and wake you up, just go to the party, even if it's not really your thing, because otherwise you'll just get woken up by them. You may as well just go and try and enjoy yourself at least. It's a lot better than the alternative. I believe you can request to move flat, but anyway, that just went off topic. Now, showers are terrible at university. I have no advice for this because I don't know how to solve this problem, but my shower was unbelievably hot all the time. I mean, you couldn't make it cold. You just turn it a slight amount and all of a sudden you were in Mordor. Anyway, on the next topic, events and parties. Yes, if you're going to a party in a sort of hall type thing in your university, when I say hall, I'm not referring to accommodation, I'm referring to like a big dinner hall place, like with mine we have the Stannery, and they'd often have like events in there which involved loud music and alcoholic beverages being consumed. Now, if you go to one of these, you will find quite often that you will be queuing up for absolutely ages. Often queue sideways so that you can slip past people. You're probably thinking, no, that's just rude and impolite and ill-mannered and etc. various other things. That's what I thought, but then I noticed everyone else was doing it, and it actually works. People do constantly try and push in front of you. Always make sure your shoulder is slightly in front of their shoulder, and keep moving sideways to sort of semi-cut across them if they're trying to do it to you. Now, one more thing. Once you finally get to the front, you may find that other people who have been there nowhere near as long as you get served first. This is because, depending on who's serving, some people who serve alcoholic beverages tend to give people with boobs drinks before they give drinks to people without boobs. Therefore, I noticed quite a lot of other people did this. If you're with a sort of group of people that's relatively big, then get one friend who is a girl to go up and get drinks for the rest of the group. That way you're not all queuing, you just pay her and she'll get the drinks, and it'll work out more cost effective, more time effective. I'm not going to give any more advice on that, simply because I don't really like those events very much. I went to a few of them, weren't really my thing. I'll probably still go to a few next year though, just to meet more of the new people. Anyway, when it comes to hangovers the next day, paracetamol. I have no other advice other than lots of water. You may find that a lot more people will remember your name than you will remember's name. Yeah. That's annoying. Finding them on Facebook once you remember their name can really, really help. Because I find I might remember someone's name and then forget it really only a few hours later. But yeah, sometimes you might sort of talk to someone a hell of a lot and never know their name the entire year, even though you've spoken to them loads. And that happened with me. It's terrible when that happens. But by the time it's your second year, if they're just people who live in your building, you're unlikely to really see them. So it doesn't matter. If you are not on Facebook, get Facebook, because one thing, as I've mentioned just now, you'll be able to it'll help you remember people's names, because you'll be seeing their stuff on your newsfeed. Also, any societies you join, they will have usually Facebook pages, and they'll post the things that are going on Facebook. You'll be able to see what's happening, see what events are coming up. Sometimes it's useful for sort of getting advice or finding ways to get to places. It's essential, really. I mean, even the people who deactivated their accounts that I knew went and reactivated them within a few weeks. It really is. Yeah, I know. It's a distraction at times, so don't go on it too much. I know in the holidays thus far I've gone on it way too much, but sort of try to limit yourself to only when you've got nothing to do, or sort of just the early morning just to see what's happened, and sort of the evening when you're a bit too tired to do the rest of the work. Subjects. When in lectures... What is making that noise? Oh, it's the table. When in lectures, I find that you may need a recording device sometimes if your lecturers tend to talk about things that aren't necessarily on the slides quite a lot. I found in my first term that would have been really useful, but in my second term, when I actually got one, it wasn't. But anyway, sometimes you'll have a lecturer at least, who is really, really monotone, really just reads off the board, and this is roughly what it is like. I'm not looking at you, I'm not engaging with you, I am not making any effort to speak to you. I'm just reading, because that is clearly what they pay me for as a lecturer. When they're like that, I'd say go to several of the lectures, but don't, basically, okay, don't go to them. I mean, I went to all of the lectures from one of my lecturers who was like that. He never said anything else other than what was on the slides. I mean, just go to some of them just so you know if there'll be another lecturer doing some parts of the course. Because when there are, it might be a lot better. Like we had, I'm not going to name any of my lecturers. Anyway, so that's advice, because you don't learn anything more by being there. They're almost pointless in being there as lectures. Now, what else? Okay, fieldwork. If, like me, you do a course which has a lot of outdoor work, you may need a lot of waterproof clothing. Never, ever, ever put waterproof trousers in a wash, particularly not with biological washing powder. Don't use cotton gloves. They let the water in, and after keeping you warm for a bit, they will suddenly make your hands colder. Do not, under any circumstances, use the red Chartwell waterproof notebooks, which my university provided us with and advised, because the pages will stick together and they will cut, and when you try to unpeel them, if you haven't dried it out properly, when you go to unpeel them, they'll tear apart. Even if you haven't had the chance to dry them out, you just got back from fieldwork, they'll still stick together sometimes. Everything you've done might be lost or ruined. They're terrible. Another one I'd avoid getting is the RYA ones. I mean, they're quite good as waterproof notebooks themselves, and they've got a relatively hard back. Problem is the back's not quite hard enough, and they've got these really obvious black lines irregularly on different pages, which really sort of obscure what you're doing. As in, they just don't like lines for writing on, but they mean you can't draw on those pages, and they make everything a lot more inconvenient. The WebTex ones are also really worth not buying, because they're soft-backed. I mean, there's not really enough. They're soft-backed, so you can't really write on them properly or draw on them properly in the field. They, as in not neatly anyway. They don't have any lines on them. I mean, what you want is really faint lines or squares, just so you can do your details in the field properly. WebTex ones don't have any lines on them at all. They also have nowhere near enough pages on them. Don't buy WebTex. Hot chocolate is essential always. Unless you don't like hot chocolate. Oh, cack. I've just run out of things to say. You know, I had a lot of things I was thinking about saying in this video, and I just can't remember them. Oh yes, just because you are used to being the smartest person in the room does not mean you will still be the smartest person in the room when you are at university. Similarly, there will also be people who you cannot work out how they got to university. But then there will be other people who you know, who you are sure are smarter than you, who somehow didn't get the grades. And then your university might allow other people who didn't get the grades to come in. Universities are confusing in why who they let in and stuff. But yes, if you feel that your subject knowledge isn't quite up to scratch, there's another piece of advice, search for your modules in your first year, because you might find that you actually know most of what's in it. I know, sometimes you'll be like, but that doesn't seem quite right, or, oh, I need to brush up on that. And sometimes you do need to brush up on that. But quite often I found that I actually knew more than I thought I did about some topics. So just take a look at what's on there first, and it might help you sort of refresh your mind. There probably will be times where you're thinking, oh God, I can't do this. I can't. It's too much. It's horrible. It's just awful. Remember, negative thoughts and negative words breed negative results. Think and speak positive. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope I've been helpful. If you have any other questions, comment and I will answer. And good luck with your new university years to those of you who are starting it. Oh, by the way, subscribe. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe. Just down there. It's a nice little red button. It says subscribe. You want to click it. Clicking it will make your life better.